Guys, Project Reaper here, and today I want to bring you a video that is honestly a little bit of a rant, as I'm in a little bit of a bad mood because I keep seeing this issue and I don't understand why it's happening, but I want to explain it, and hopefully you guys will see what I'm talking about, and maybe once some people have seen this video, I'll start seeing less of this issue. So what we're talking about today is the talent called Giant Killer, what it's for, when you should take it, and when you shouldn't take it, basically. And so yeah, let's get into it. Real quick first, sorry. I've got this replay pulled up, and this is actually the game that upset me quite a bit. So I'm on the red team. I'm actually Rehgar, and if you look at this setup real quick, I was the first person to select in this ranked game, and the only person who really picked a hero good for the map and good with my pick was Zool. I don't know, I mean, Greymane's not really a bad pick, but I don't know where the Lunara came from. We're lacking a tank, and if you look at their setup, they're also lacking a tank. They're high burst. They're having a really easy time killing us, as you can tell from these kills here. So, and then you can also see right here in the chat log, Lunara is complaining that they have too much burst damage, and that she's dying too easily. So, if we go look at the talents real quick, we can see that the Lunara, the one who's right here, is complaining about this burst damage. At level 13, she chose to take Giant Killer. Now, what Giant Killer does is it increases the damage of your basic attacks based on the of the health of your enemy. It's aptly named Giant Killer as this power is designed to kill giants. It's designed as an anti-tank, and basically the bigger the health pool that your enemy has, the more output you're going to get from this power. Now, that being said, if there aren't high health enemies on the enemy team, there's no reason to take Giant Killer. This is adding, excuse me, a negligible amount of damage, and I actually have some math to kind of show you guys what I mean. But at level 20, which is what I did all my calculations on, is level 20 heroes. None of these heroes have over 3,000 health, except Malfurion, but meh. These guys all have under 3,000 health. Now, your average tank at level 20 has 5,000 health. So just keep that in mind, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But if you notice, Lunara is not the only one who made this mistake. It looks like Sgt Hammer also decided, hey, I want to take this power based on enemies' health, even though my enemies are very squishy and have very low health pools. So this power is designed for hammering down extra damage against those high health targets, against those tanks that are hard to kill. This is how you make them a little bit easier to kill. So the thing that really got my goat is I asked these people, you know, why did you take Giant Killer? Especially Lunara has an option at that level for what's called Greater Spell Shield to highly reduce the damage from spells, and then she complains about burst. So you know that you're being burst down too much, and you're given an option of reduce the burst damage or increase the damage based on enemy health. Why in the world, why would you choose Giant Killer? Now, I don't really know what these people's school of thought is. Maybe of the options, this was the one that looked like it added the most damage, but the thing of it is the damage it's adding is so little that it's basically pointless. And I'll get into that real quick. But the thing that really got my goat is Greymane then took Alpha Killer. Now, it isn't Giant Killer, but it's based on the same idea. It's basically the same thing, just twice as potent, but it's based on enemies' maximum health. These enemies have such small health pools that the benefit from this is just, it's so little. So, yeah, that's that, and I do want to show you guys a couple other things, because there are talents like this talent that are designed specifically for killing heroes with high health bars that are ignored a lot of the time. So one of them, Zool, at level 13, has Giant's Curse. This is great against high health targets, specifically warrior classes, and then there are a few stragglers that have high health, and I'm going to give you a list, guys, of all the heroes you're going to want this against. And then the other one that comes to mind, now I know there's more than this, but these are just the two that are coming to mind, so I'm just advising you guys to keep an eye out for this since it's not always called Giant Killer. Here, Diablo's offered what's called Life Leech at level 13. And it does damage based on the enemy's health, so this is great against tanks, and it also heals you. So not only is it going to do more damage against tanks, but it's going to heal you more against tanks. This power right here allows you to target tanks and be more effective against tanks than you are against squishies. So it's quite helpful. And then real quick, I just want to show you guys, let's jump to post-it notes. So I went through all the characters at level 20, and I looked at their health, and I did some math. So let's actually start down here at the math section. Cho'Gall is a hero that you will always want this power against. This is weird. This power Giant Killer, because he has a 8,000 health pool, and he's 2 heroes. So every time you land a basic attack against Cho'Gall, you're actually hitting 2 people, so you can actually kind of consider it double damage. 120 extra damage. So if they have Cho'Gall in all squishies, I would still take it just for Cho'Gall, because you're really dealing with 2 tanks at that point, and you're hitting them at the same time, and that's the extra added benefit. If there is a Diablo and an Arthas, and you take Giant Killer, you're only going to get that bonus damage as you hit Arthas or as you hit Diablo. But as you hit Cho'Gall, you're getting that bonus damage every hit against Cho and against Gall. And so it's almost duplicative. Now, every other tank has around 5,000 health, and so that's about 75 bonus damage per attack. And then your average heroes tend to have 4,500, so you can see that adds 67, 4,000 adds 60, and 3,500 adds 52. Now I stopped at 3,500. There are some heroes like Murky that have substantially less than this, but I think that I've already covered you don't want this power against your squishy heroes. So 3,500 where it gets to 52, that's really close to 2/3 of this. So you're only getting, at this point you're getting about roughly 66% of the benefit that you're getting here. And so, I mean, hopefully that kind of illustrates for you guys, when you use this against a tank, it's literally, excuse me, I said 66, but I meant 33. It's 33% better against a tank than it is against a squishy. Every single hit. So if you're Vala and you take Giant Killer, pew 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 pew, you're doing 75 extra damage every single hit. So yeah, then other than that, I'm gonna put this information from this post-it note here in the description, so you guys can refer to it there. But this is a list. Any warrior is gonna have enough health. That includes Rexxar, Artanis, and Sonya. Rexxar is actually a really good hero to use Giant Killer against, because both he and his bear have huge health pools, and so you're gonna get actually really high damage by using Giant Killer in that sort of matchup. And then a couple of the heroes people don't really notice have huge health bars as often. Azmodan, he's a big old fatty. He's got as much health as almost any warrior. Gazlowe, he's pretty up there. He also hits pretty hard. And then Rehgar, I guess just because he's a melee support, as well as Uther being a melee support, these two have really large health bars. And then Nazeebo, he's pretty average. Originally I put him down here because he does have under 4,000 health. However, about 80% of Nazeebo players use this power at level 1 called Death Ritual, and it will permanently increase his health for every minion he kills. This will stack him way past 4k health. And so you can just check, you won't take Giant Killer to level 13, so you can just like I did in that game, you hit tab to open the menu, then at the bottom you hit Talents, and you can see at level 1, you know, did Nazeebo take Death Ritual? If he did, then you can consider him a high health target worth Giant Killer. And then these melee, he doesn't count as melee obviously, but these 3 melee heroes and Sgt Hammer all have moderate health bars, and so it's still pretty helpful against them. But everybody else in the game is going to be under this point, so you're going to be doing less than this amount of damage, so it's not going to prove beneficial or as beneficial. And then I just kind of gave the guidelines that I follow. Now you might want to switch this, you know, tweak it here or there, but I feel like this is a pretty confident way to decide, you know, am I going to be using Giant Killer? If when the match starts up, 3 or more of these heroes are on the enemy team, so you know you've got 2 warriors and a Rehgar, or you know 2 warriors and a Kerrigan, etc. Or if you have 1 warrior, a Rehgar, and a Thrall, you know, any mix-up of these, if 3 of their 5 heroes, if more than half of their heroes are high health heroes, that's when you can justify taking a Giant Killer or a like power. Also, if they have 2 or more of those heroes, and you don't have a teammate who can get to the back line. Now what I mean by that is, let's say they have a Diablo and an Arthas, and they're really doing a good job of tanking, they're creating a solid front line, and you don't have anybody like, you don't have Illidan, you don't have Greymane, you don't have a hero that can jump in there and get the low health targets in the back. Your only option is to slowly, or as quickly as possible, kill those tanks so that you can then get to those squishy heroes. So if you are up against a situation like that, and when it comes to level 13 you guys are low on deaths, or you just feel like you can't make it to that Lieutenant Morales because the tanks are just too strong, that's another time when Giant Killer will really tend to prove beneficial, when you're killing the tanks before you're killing the squishies. Not something you want to do, that's not ideal. Ideally, your tank will protect your squishies while you kill their squishies, but you know, you gotta make up for certain things, crowd control and whatnot, and if they have a lot of tanks, they're gonna have a lot of crowd control, so this is kinda what you use to counter that. And then, as I mentioned before, any team that has a Cho'Gall, personally, if I have an option for Giant Killer or something like Giant Killer, I take it, because of how I explained before. It's a huge amount of damage, and it's hitting 2 targets basically, so it's quite beneficial. Well, that's it, guys. Hopefully you have a better understanding of Giant Killer, and now you have a list of the high health targets you're going to want to use it against, so I will get that put in the description for you guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked, please feel free to like, and I love subscribes, and happy to answer any of your comments or questions. So if you have any of those, you can leave them in the comment bar. And then other than that, if you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Twitch or on YouTube at project_reaper.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So yeah, then there's actually right here at the end, you're gonna see up at the top a little button for a playlist for more information on Heroes of the Storm. So if you have more questions or want to know more in depth about some of the talents, I'm gonna do a whole series on some of the talents that are a little bit more confusing, that I see used wrong a lot. Alright, thanks again for watching, guys, and have a great day.